Hello, welcome to another Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Dijeh. And for the initial thoughts here, I got two matches for you, and possibly a third one. First match is in a custom with friends on Mountain, and the second match is going to be my first time using it in space at 600 with Mick. And it's a pretty, you'll see the team, it's a meme team for sure. But yeah, anyway, at the Dijeh, so pretty much guaranteed that we're going to have a block of Moon Gundam suits. I hope like they'll take a break in between, so it's not like with the Sentinel suits where we just had one section of Sentinel. Then we got like the Nero afterwards, but the Nero is like a suit a limited mission suits. I don't really count that, but yeah, they had that huge influx of Sentinel suits. So I hope that's not it for Moon Gundam, because there's a lot of Moon Gundam suits that look very interesting. And apparently there's another version of this Dijeh called the Dijeh AR, which a lot of people were excited for. But also this support, it's a 550 support, so it's another high cost support, and it actually has a unique skill that we'll get into when I get over to the skills, and it can be quite helpful. Also, by the way, this thing's description, it mentions that it uses a clay bazooka, and well, that's a fucking lie. It doesn't. It uses the Haikushiki beam rifle, but we'll get into that to the weapons. Wish it had that though. That would have been really great. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start off with the stats here. I have the level 1 550, so it's 18,000 health. You have 23 ballistic and beam resistance. You have 14 melee resistance, 35 range strength, 20 melee strength, 120 speed, and 190 boost speed. You have 65 thruster gauge and 66 rotation speed. And then for slots, you have 10 close, 14 mid, and 16 long. And those are some pretty decent stats, at least the defense on the ballistic and beam. Definitely you can tank those up if you want to. For me, I buffed up the beam because the 23 ballistic resistance for a support, that's pretty alright. The 14 melee resistance can help out slightly, but a lot of suits at 550 are melee oriented, including generals, so don't rely on it too much unless you want to specifically buff up your melee resistance. And you know, you do have 20 melee strength, which is really helpful, but this thing doesn't have balancer, sadly. I wish it did, because that would actually make this thing a really good support, but it doesn't, sadly. And then the for primary weapons here, now we're on to the weapons. Your two that you have is the Haikushiki beam rifle, which is 2,400 damage, 4 rounds, and then you have 350 range, which I believe that's the second support suit that has it. I believe the first is the Methus Kai, so that's another suit getting that. Awesome. You know, with the unique skill this thing has, I wish I had another weapon. I definitely would have liked that clay bazooka, but I'll get into it for the skills for the overload skill. On some weapons I think would have been cool. And yeah, so you have that. It can do a lot of damage because, you know, Haikushiki beam rifle already does 2,400 damage. You put that on support with great range strength, yeah, you can easily get over 3,000 on some suits. And then yeah, your next weapon is the Dijeh beam Naginata, which is 2,350 damage, and yeah, it actually does pretty good damage. The downswing will chunk a lot of general suits. I couldn't think of the word there for a second. Almost said support, but yeah, it can definitely chunk some generals if you're close by. And I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, but it seems like when it does its downswing, it slides a little bit further than the regular Gelgoog downswings. But yeah, just keep in mind that it has the Gelgoog downswing, so just be careful when you aim that downswing, because you might miss somebody in front of you. So yeah, be aware of that. And then for your secondary weapons, you have the head-mounted Vulcan Type 3, which is an interesting name because the new Gundam has Type 2 Vulcans. This one has Type 3. Don't know what that entails, but no, yeah, it has 95 damage, 80 rounds, and 200 range, and it actually has some decent stopping power to it, or at least stagger value. You can stun somebody around the 54, 53 mark of your Vulcans if you're just using your Vulcans just straight up. So that gives you 2 chances to stun somebody with just the Vulcan, so that's nice. And you know, they do some pretty good damage, and they shoot pretty fast. So I like the Vulcans. And then you have the Hyper Mega Launcher, which is you know, if you know the Zeta HML, it's the same thing. Big old beam rifle, pretty much. 2,100 damage, 70% heat rate, 450 range, and you can charge it. This thing will shoot twice if uncharged before you can overheat it, but it only stuns in 2 hits. Like if you try to shoot it uncharged, it will not stun. You have to overheat it to stun, and if you fully charge it, it will heavy stagger and it will penetrate and do a lot of damage, like the regular HMLs. HML. So yeah, I got a lot of good damage potential there, which increases a lot when you use the unique skill the suit has, the Overload. Your next weapon is the Knuckles Sealant Launcher, which a lot of suits around this time period, the Zeta and the double Zeta, will have this. You shoot cummies out of your knuckles, so stun somebody if they're not doing maneuver armor. That can be pretty helpful for stun locking somebody with this suit. You know, you got the Haikushiki beam rifle straight into the sealant, or you know, something else is throw in some of your melee attacks, or maybe some of the HML attacks. So nice. And then you have the Grenade Launcher ×4, which is 400 damage, 4 rounds, and 300 range. Which the way those shoot is kind of weird. It's on the hip of the Gelgoog. It's the Gelgoog. Wow, no, it's the Dijeh. I'm thinking of the downswing this thing has. The Rick Dijeh. And the way it fires, it has a weird arc. So if you saw my testing out video, if you're looking directly at somebody, it'll have it can miss. So make sure you're just aiming around their feet. So that way, even if you do miss trying to aim at them directly, you can hit the area around them to try and damage them. And you know, they're same as other grenade launchers that suits have if they have 4, you know. So 3 out of the 4 will stun. I believe you have to sit still for them, unfortunately. Actually, no, you can move while using them, so that's nice. Just the same as other grenade launchers. So if you use the Zeta, Bawu, I said this like fucking 4 times now for the past suits. If you know what a grenade launcher is, the times if you have 4 shots, yeah, you hit either all of them or 3 of the 4, you'll get a stun. You do kind of spread a little bit, so it's not going to be like an exact area where you hit, you know. So just be aware of that. Oh, also you get to see the new skill here working out. So yeah, we'll talk about that in here in a bit. Actually, no, we're getting to it right now with the skills. So for skills, you have the radar 3, you have the scope 3. So you know, typical radar and zooming in. You have the personnel radar, so you can see people on your map if you're not looking at them. Well, I should say little soldiers, you know, soldiers, personnel there. You can see people on your radar that aren't in suits. You have data link. You have frontline support level 1, so that's nice. You know, 5% off your respawn time with somebody else who has that skill. You have the aerospace gimbal level 2, so you can look down, up and down in space further. You have the scouting device, which is your zoom in for your whenever you're not trying to snipe at somebody, so that can be helpful. You have overload, which we'll get into that. Keep saying it every time I mention it. You have aim back level 2. You have left shoulder buffer level 2 and back add-on buffer level 1, which this thing needs that because this thing is fucking massive. Also, by the way, top individual score and top damage dealt. That's a lot of damage. Hell yeah. Gonna send some praises. And yeah, mission complete for sure. Second place, 7-2. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And then for our next match, we're gonna be duking it out in space, and you'll see the team setup. It's a majority of supports, and then we have a raid at 600. Yeah, you'll get to see this mess of a match. It was fun, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, we got it's me and Mick in the Rick Dijeh, then we have a Methis Kai, and then a Zeku Ainz Type 2. And thankfully we have a raid. But yeah. Anyway, that overload ability you have. So, what this does is when you press the touchpad button on your PS4 or PS5, you will recover your weapon's heat gauge, your heat weapons gauge. So if you overheat a weapon, it will recover it instantly. And this goes for every weapon that you have. So if you somehow overheat all of your heat-based weapons, which this suit only has one, you can refresh all of that. And they have a 30% reduced heat rate when you shoot it, which is pretty good if I'm thinking for the future here about what possible supports, what support weapons we can have. And then, I believe it's for 25 or 24 seconds. So that's a lot of time, and at least for shooting. And then afterwards, whenever the weapon, it'll be in overheat for an extended period. And unfortunately, whenever a weapon's already in overheat, it will start the overheat over again, but it'll be even longer, which I don't like that. I feel like if it's already in overheat, it should just start slowing the meter down. But I guess there's a problem with that. It just resets the overheat, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this works really well for the Rick Dijeh if you can manage to use it right. I know in the testing video I was dicking around with it, so I was shooting it like, oh, I can shoot it 3 times. But yeah, to overheat this thing, the HML, you have to shoot it twice. But with this, the overload, if you activate it, you can shoot it 3 times. But realistically, what you're going to want to do is if you want to like shoot it twice, or maybe even once, and then throw in some of your other weapons, and then start shooting more of your HML. Because I believe in that last match, the mountain match, near the end, the last minute, I believe I shot 2 regular HML shots. When it was overheated, I decided to use overload, and that gave me 4 more shots to use because I decided to overheat it like a dumb, stupid person I am. I could have done way more than 4 shots, but I did end up helping get an assist and killing somebody, and then damaging somebody else before it went to overheat. So if I would have waited a little bit longer, I probably would have gotten 2 or 3 more shots out of that. Maybe even more if I would have spaced it out. But yeah, that's really good. This thing already does some decent damage on its own. I believe I'm getting consistently like over 2,500 damage per shot. So if you can shoot that more than twice, if you can just manage your heat rate, you'll get some pretty good damage out of this. The only downside is that you're playing a big support, so you're probably going to be stopped a lot if you're not smart about how you tackle situations. Like, you don't want to be in the front lines and then activate your overheat and then just get murdered by a raid who stopped by, So, the overload ability, it can be good, although there's some things with the suit that I feel like it could be something else. But yeah, I'll get into that here in a bit. First, we're going to do the pros and cons. I say first, even though I said first for like the stats. Lastly, we talk about the pros and cons, and I'll start off with the pros first. And this thing has some pretty good weapons. You have the Haikushiki beam rifle. That's an instant stun. Has 4 shots in it, and it's a pretty decent range. And then you have a big beefy Naginata damage. Also, that was a pretty good over 7,000 charge shot, heavy stagger. Hell yeah. The Vulcans are pretty good. You can mix it up with your grenade launchers. The grenade launchers are okay. They're your typical grenade launchers. They'll get the job done. They're great defense, I guess you can say. And then of course you have the Hyper Mega Launcher, which is already a pretty good weapon of its own. You fully charge that, you can get a heavy stagger and it penetrates. And then of course the Knuckle Steel Launcher helps with keeping somebody in stagger, like in case they do a dodge roll, you can just bop them with it. Or your Haikushiki beam rifle and then bop them with the sealant and then going for your melee or whatever else you want to do. So there's that. And yeah, that's a really good positive for this suit. Good weapons. Another positive is the overload ability. The overload ability is pretty good. Although I feel like this suit shouldn't have been the first suit that would have had it. I would have liked to see a suit that had a lot of or heat-based weaponry. So that way we can kind of gauge how useful the skill would be, like on a suit. Kind of like how when we first got the heavy attack skill, it was the GM3 close combat that had it, and that suit was heavily oriented towards melee. But now we have suits like the Rigazi Custom that have a lot of weapons on it, and also has the heavy attack. So I'd like to see something. Maybe this thing had the Haikushiki beam rifle, which now that I think about it, that would have been gross. Because imagine how much you can already shoot with the Haikushiki beam rifle, and then imagine 30% heat rate taken off of that when it overheats, and then you use your overload. Yeah, that would be insane. That'd actually make a really good support. Now that I think about it, it would be cancer, but goddamn, that would be really interesting to see. You know, I kind of hope this isn't the supports version of the heavy attack, because I don't think it's going to be as useful as the heavy attack. Because now we're getting to the downsides here. The downside is for the overload is that you can only use it once per life, and of course you want to be careful where you want to use that. You know, you don't want to use it at the start of the match, and then you don't have like that backup in case you want to finish somebody off for sure. You know, shoot a whole bunch of beams at somebody. Yeah, you don't get that if you do that, or you know, you don't want to pop it off in front of a raid. You know you're gonna die, so. What's the point? So you only got one use out of it per life, and I believe the restarting your overheat is kind of dumb too. I wish you'd just slow down your overheat where it is. I believe if you just want to straight up just overheat your HML, like at the start of your overload. By the time it's almost ready, you'd be like a quarter of the way for your HML to be ready to use again, get out of overheat. But then whenever your overload expires, it'll just restart the thing, but even longer. So it'll take even longer to wait on that HML. So, yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, another downside is that this is a huge support. The Dijeh is already a big suit, and the Dijeh CA is a pretty huge ass suit. This suit is no different. It is just a gigantic suit, and it's really easy to run up on it. I feel like this is just a fucking given for supports now. Unfortunately, there is no maneuver armor on this to be found. You just get buffers. This thing's just so fucking massive. It's so easy for something like the Rigazi, which is also at 550. Also, by the way, mission completed. Top individual and top damage again, so nice. I believe I'm going to praise somebody here. Might have been the raid because he didn't pick a support. Third place, 5-4. Not as good as the first match, but hey, did pretty well though. Top 3. But yeah, back to what I was saying. The Rigazi is not going to have a problem fighting you. A lot of melee-oriented generals are not going to have a problem fighting you unless they stop in front of you, but a lot of suits can use their attacks while boosting. Stuff like the Dryson with its tri-blades will stop you, and then it'll just go in for a melee. The Rigazi Custom, well, I mean, it's a Rigazi Custom. Either you're going to tackle it and you fell for the bait of the heavy attack, so now he's going to hit you with his regular melee and still kill you, or he's just going to straight up do the heavy attack, and if you tackle and the game doesn't want you to, you're going to die or take a lot of damage and then get the counter off, or you're just going to straight fucking die, because you saw that match. I went from 18,000 health to 0. So, yeah, you're definitely still a support in this thing, and I really wish this thing... Oh, before I get into that business, more downsides is that this thing doesn't have some skills. Like, it doesn't have force injectors. It doesn't have... I know I'm asking too much. A dodge roll. Heaven forbid a fucking dodge roll. Or maneuver armor. Actually, I would like to have maneuver armor in the suit. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that shit on supports anytime soon, it seems like, which is a real damn shame. Honestly, when I first got the suit, or playing a few matches with it, I was thinking that they could have totally just taken out the overload, gave this thing balancers, which this thing doesn't have balancers either, And then just, this would be a really kick-ass support. You can stun lock somebody, come in, get a downswing off, and then dip out, come back in for another downswing. Since it does a lot of damage, you know, this thing would have been a great close mid-range support. Been really awesome if they gave this thing balancers and maybe some maneuver armor, but it would have tied up everything in the suit nicely. In fact, maybe they could just gave this thing balancers, just balancers, you know, keep the overload, but give this thing balancers. It would have been a really tightly knit support. But unfortunately, we don't get anything. You can't even boost in the air while using this. This thing is supposed to be an improvement on the Dijeh, but the only improvement is that you can shoot the Hyper Mega Launcher more than twice. And that makes it like the second or third suit that's supposed to be a better version of a previous model, but it's not, like the Shorts and Diaz. Hey, I mean, at least the Shorts and Diaz is buffed, but yeah, I can believe that in a fight, the Dijeh against a Rick Dijeh, the regular Dijeh is it's just gonna whoop its ass, plain and simple. Stun lock that motherfucker and kill him. And if it was the Rick, I almost said the Rick Dijeh CA. If it was just the Dijeh CA, yeah, that thing's 650. That thing, the Rick Dijeh's not gonna last that long, but yeah. So I was kind of hoping to see some balancers on this suit because they're doing so well with supports at the higher cost. And then we had suits like the Yagdoga, the Quest's Yagdoga. That suit is literally flaming fucking garbage in a trash can. And this suit, it's not bad, even though it's really good. I like this suit. I feel like it could have been a little bit better with the if it had some balancers. But you know, it's definitely not bad. Again, I'll say that, you know, triple it. It's not bad. The overload ability can be really helpful if you can gauge when you can use it right, which surprisingly for me, I can actually gauge that pretty well. Usually when I have suits that have like a time limit on when you use their special ability, like the exams, I sometimes I forget I have exams. I don't want to fuck it up. I'll do really good in Red Rider, then go, oh wait, I had the one system. I didn't even use that. Wow. But yeah, like this suit I can actually do well with. I can use the overload ability really well. So if you're worried about that, it doesn't have any, you know, horrible consequences. You don't break your fucking legs when the time limit's up. And if it did, I probably wouldn't even use it. But so, you know, if you're one of those guys that doesn't like to have that kind of time limit ability, the overload ability is fine on this suit. Just remember, you only have one use per life. And yeah, this suit should get you far if you're a decent support main. You know, I highly recommend this suit to people that like to play supports. Just be careful that you're not. I've seen this a lot with the regular HML, the Zeta HML. Just don't sit back and just fully charge your cannon all the time. It actually overheats after one shot, so preferably don't do that. Don't sit back. Get engaged with your team. Be a good support, you know. And try to avoid getting one shot by a heavy attack suit. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. Subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And, you know, type up in the comment section what you feel about the Rick Dijeh. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I like the suit. Again, I'd say I love it. You know, it's got some pretty good stun lock potential. It's got really good melee damage. The weapons are pretty good, and the new ability that it has, I like it. It can be useful in the times that you need it. It's just I wish this thing had balancers. That's what I think made this a really good support. You know, I almost said top tier, but I have to gauge how the suit's going to be in the next few weeks. But yeah, if this thing had balancers, oh man, that would make this thing just godlike. Unfortunate, but you know, I just come to expect that with supports nowadays, which is not a good thing. But yeah, that's going to be it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.